Let's talk about why one of the pros of organic marketing. We've talked about it not having costs involved, but I think that it is a great way to build trust. It's a great way to build community, help people to get to know who we authentically are, which I think is huge in today's time where there is so much noise and the trust is definitely not where it used to be in the marketplace. So I think that organic marketing is a really great way to build that and engage your audience. Welcome to today's episode of Influence by Design. I'm your co-host for today, Samantha Riley, and back with my much awaited co-host, Tim Hyde. It's been a while, Tim.
I think it's been, I don't know, a month and a half, Sam.
Right.
It feels like forever. You know, it was way back before you did your summit.
Oh my goodness.
When was your summit? That was
March.
in March, was it? No.
Oh, yeah, it was.
It hasn't been that long, surely.
No, I think we must have done some episodes after that. I knew it had been a while, but holy moly, like this year is flying.
Yeah, like I know it was before I started my kitchen and laundry and bathroom and other bathroom renovations, which are nearing completion.
Wow.
It was. It's been a while, so it's good to be back. It's good to see you again. I know we do talk regularly as well, but it's great to be back on the show again.
Great to be doing the podcast. We're both so busy, it's been hard to coordinate our schedules, but here we are. And today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of organic versus paid marketing and really helping you to understand which strategy is right for your business. And this is something that I get asked almost every day. I'm sure it's something that you talk about with your clients all the time. And I think it's really, today I want to go into the pros and cons of both so that people can understand which do I delve into more right now? Do I need both? Is one better than the other? And to really understand which strategy is right for them right now.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things that certainly I see, and I obviously kind of like work a lot more intensely on the sales and marketing side than you do, Sam. But one of the biggest challenges, I think, for businesses of any size, whether you're just getting started or, where you're well into your sort of 6 or 7 figures, even in your 8 figures in some cases, is that we have a lot of these ideas that are kind of really only half implemented.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that any of these individual strategies from a sales and marketing perspective don't work. They don't work because we haven't implemented them properly to completion.
Mm-hmm. I did see someone do a post today, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but basically saying all of the strategies work. It's usually the human error that makes them not work, that there's something that, exactly like you say, we're not implementing it properly, we're not finishing it, we're not seeing it all the way through, there's some sort of mistake in there, whatever it is. All of these strategies work for different people for different reasons, for whatever they're doing, but they actually all work when they're implemented correctly.
Yeah, presuming you're talking to the right audience in the right space. Okay.
Well, that's implementing correctly, really, isn't it?
If we go to kindergarten, unless we're selling toys, right, we're in real trouble. If we're selling sort of business consulting or legal advice, we're in real trouble if we're going to go kindergarten. I heard this described the other day with the acronym PEBCAC. If you've ever come across
I can't believe you've even remembered that. Tell me what it is.
PEBCAC, PEBCAC, right? So problem exists between chair and computer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. Sorry.
Yeah. So, well, let's leave the dad joke behind.
It is usually it's not in the tools, and I know we've spoken about this before with, say, CRM implementations and all sorts of different stuff like that. But it's not the tool that is at fault. It's the human use and implementation of that tool that becomes a problem. And these strategies and systems that we're going to talk about today are just tools.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we don't use them properly, they don't get the result. If we do use them properly, they will.
Yeah, totally. Let's start off with organic marketing and really defining what it is. So this is your social media, like your content marketing, it's the engagement, it's your email list, email marketing. SEO would fall under organic marketing. Is there anything else that you can think of, Tim?
Skywriting. I usually put things
Yeah.
like, your sandwich board outside your shop is
Mm-hmm.
organic marketing. Even though you pay for it, it's kind of just sitting there and done. Sign writing on your building, it'll be the logo on your T-shirt if you're wearing T-shirts. Or have those in your business. I know she's in a shared office space and bought branded T-shirts for the entire team, branded uniforms for the entire team, and actually picked up a client from someone in the kitchen, another business in that same shared office space, because they go, oh, you do that. I need that.
Totally.
Right?
Leon's actually a gun at this. He wears his branded T-shirt everywhere. And we've picked up quite a few clients from him doing that. So people say, oh, your podcast concierge, tell me more about that. What is that? What do you do there? And he's picked quite a few clients, even one up at the markets, actually.
There you go. So all of those things become the organic stuff. And organic is usually defined by effort rather than dollars.
Yeah. So let's just say that there is a cost to everything. It's whether you either want to spend your time or spend your money. So your organic marketing is definitely, the cost is time, but there's not a direct monetary cost normally. Apart from your normal your scheduling tools or other little incidentals, there's not a direct cost.
Yeah, I usually break when I talk with my clients. I have a framework we call our open methodology, right? So that stands for organic, paid, expert, and your network. I don't usually put networking as part of an organic strategy, or I don't put expert as podcasts and TV shows and stuff as part of an organic strategy. That sort of sits in the expert. It's almost like leveraging someone else's audience. This right now that you guys are listening to, right? This for me sits in the expert bucket. It's positioning our authority through a platform, leveraging each other's networks, right? So organic is the stuff that literally you kind of do once and just sits there long term, right? And again, typified by human endeavor, effort.
Love it. So organic marketing, let's talk about why one of the pros of organic marketing. We've talked about it not having costs involved, but I think that it is a great way to build trust. It's a great way to build community, help people to get to know who we authentically are, which I think is huge in today's time where there is so much noise and the trust is definitely not where it used to be in the marketplace. So I think that organic marketing is a really great way to build that and engage your audience.
Yeah, AI has changed that paradigm a little bit. It's actually made your organic content less trustworthy, right?
Totally.
If you suddenly sound different than what you normally do because you've had ChatGPT write it and, you haven't gone and edited the stuff that you're putting out there, you're going to appear disingenuous and unauthentic, which is not what we want, right? We want our marketing to create intimacy, not create disengagement.
Totally.
And so I think you make some really good points there, Sam, that it's easy to do, right? If you've got time on your hands, you can very easily create organic content. Influencers, if you've ever followed an influencer or looked at an influencer anywhere, and most of us have at some point, we can't help ourselves, right? You just have to turn on the internet and go to your social media. And you see, all of that is just organic content. If someone says they've got 1 million followers, in fact, I just started watching Wrexham on Netflix, right, with Ryan Reynolds and McElhenney, I can't think of this guy's name, who bought the Wrexham Football Club in Wales. They've done a documentary on their purchase of this football club and the trials and tribulations of the team. Now, I'm only 6 episodes in, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to know what's going to happen, so please don't write in about that. But they were talking about how they built their social media following, right? Now, Ryan Reynolds has got like 45 million followers on Instagram, right? And that's just from doing organic content, constantly playing around, being his goofy self, right? Talking about what it is that he's doing, because he's got time and conveniently he's got a cameraman walking around with him full time to capture him doing whatever stuff that you can do, right? But it requires time and effort to do that.
But let's also bring in, like, of course, he's a Hollywood superstar, But I think
That
that what
helps.
makes Ryan Reynolds, I was going to say magical, but like that thing that really connects is that he is authentic. He's very
Mm,
funny and he's very quirky. There's no one like Ryan Reynolds. And
yeah,
it's that authenticity that people are drawn to. He's different. They're having some sort of different interaction or different feelings to other people when, when you interact with Ryan Reynolds' social media.
yeah. But I'm sure he's super busy, so he's
I would
actually
think so.
he doesn't edit his own social media posts. Someone does that for him.
Exactly.
It's part of his busy schedule, and I think that's both a pro and a con. It's super easy to do. Everyone's walking around, and for those of us watching this on YouTube right now, everyone's walking around with one of these phones, cameras in our pocket. We can easily just literally record us doing whatever the hell we're doing right now. Like I could get this out and say, hey, here's me on a podcast right now. And that would be a bit of organic content to create engagement and interest in what my audience is, with the audience that follows me, to go, well, Tim, what are you talking about today? We're talking about this. Right. But we've got to get into the habit of doing it. That's
Yeah,
probably the
there
hardest.
needs to be a rhythm. Yeah. And I think but in saying that, one of the pros is that sustainable traffic and that engagement, what we were just talking about, that's a pro. But then the con is that it is time consuming. Not all of us have a cameraman following us around like Ryan Reynolds does. So it does require not just effort and patience, but the habit muscle to remember to pull your phone out and to create the content.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be tricky to do that. You and I have both talked about that before. It's like, oh, we could have created content when we were doing X, Y, Z, and we just straight out forgot to pull out our phone.
Well, the amount of even this podcast, we often talk for an hour either before or afterwards. Like, that would have been really great content.
Why did we not press record on the outtakes or the conversations in the green room?
You're absolutely right. The muscle to do it is something that you need to train yourself into doing. Right? So create. So I think the other thing that we probably want to be cognizant of is, depending on your business, that you may not necessarily want the personal brand attached.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very personal decision, right? Sam, you named your business Samantha Riley.global because you are the brand of your business.
Mm-hmm.
I named my business Win More Clients because I did not want to be the brand of my business, and I was more interested in being a reclusive billionaire.
Is that working out for you?
Yes, it's going great. I've made the first 2 steps at least. I'm not sure any more. I'll find out in due course. But you've got to consider, do you want to be the person on camera all the time, or do you want to be the kind of person that's always posting the stuff? Right. So, that's probably a consideration about whether you're using organic content and how you use organic content in your business as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in personal brand, because even if you've got a business with a label or a sign above the door, people still do business with a person, and you can take your personal brand with you. Someone that has done this really well is Brittany Saunders from the fashion label Fate. The way that she's built her TikTok account is that she's got her Fate the Label account and she's got her Brittany Saunders account, and she cross-pollinates across the two. Oh man, she's done it really well. It's a definite masterclass in marketing to see how she's done that. So she's actually used the two strategies hand in hand. Very clever.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the other downsides to you from a sort of organic
I think that it can, this is something that holds a lot of people back when they're starting their social media accounts, that it can take a lot of time to get traction. You get slower results at the beginning. It takes time to build the momentum. It takes time to see that engagement build. And a lot of people are like, oh, it hasn't worked in 2 seconds flat, I'm just going to quit. But it requires this consistent work. It's like, it's building a muscle. If we want to go on stage in a bodybuilding competition, it's not going to happen overnight. It's something that we need to do the reps, do the work day in, day out to get there. And your organic marketing is like that.
Yeah. It can also be very time consuming as well, because you do have, just because you've got the kind of the content going out, I think the bit that I see people miss a lot is we forget to engage with the people that are engaging with us.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you brought this up. ignoring the people that have invested their time in your content. Oh, I cannot speak to this more. Like, if someone's invested their time, like, we're all busy, right? And if someone's invested their time in engaging with your content, please don't ignore it. Please show gratitude for them and engage back with them for engaging with your content.
Yeah, look, I know it's something that again, we work with a lot from a strategy perspective, that just because you've created this awareness with the content you're creating, we want to turn more of these connections into clients, and that only happens through that connection. And it's something we do a lot with our clients. I'm actually just brought my son has just started working with me as of today to do some of that stuff that, for me as well.
That's so good. So cool. So cool that you can bring family into your business.
Yeah.
It will be fine. It will be good. So that's your organic marketing. Let's jump into paid marketing.
Yep.
So this is like your pay-per-click, which I actually don't know very much about, so I'm not going to speak to that. Your social media ads, like your Meta, your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's sponsored content. What else have we got in paid ads?
Look, radio, TV, newspaper, magazine, publishing, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do in terms of paid advertising. To an extent, sponsorship of events comes into this place as well.
I love sponsorships, by the way.
There's a ton of stuff. Effectively, what we're doing with paid is that we're trying to leverage somebody else's audience.
Yeah.
Right. We're renting rather than build, and this is probably the key thing for organic, right? In organic space, we're building our own audience of followers. In paid, what we're doing is leveraging somebody else's audience. And we're paying for the privilege of doing so. Now, a couple of obvious things that benefits from this particular strategy is that immediately you are going to get a much bigger audience and reach than you could otherwise get.
Absolutely. You're paying for visibility instantly.
Yeah. So, we know, for example, Facebook back in the day, this is probably early noughties, or not early noughties, early teens, when they started sort of really pushing their advertising platform, had an ad that ran and said, look, there are 1 billion people on Facebook and all of them could be your customer. Now, if you had enough money, yes, you could create an ad that reached all 1 billion of those people.
But unless you're Amazon, I don't actually think it would work for you.
Well, you'd probably need a really universal product like oxygen.
Oxygen, water.
But if you had an exclusive monopoly on oxygen, you're probably going to do all right for yourself. I think but we don't necessarily need that many people, but those platforms, and they're very typified by being publishers in a sense, right? Apple is another sort of publisher. They've got a network of people. They are publishers, right? They're going to want you to build their audience so they can sell more stuff, or they want you to rent their audience, right? And so whatever town you happen to be in, right? Let's just say there's 100,000 people in your particular sort of city or catchment area of people you want to sell to. Chances are things like your local newspaper or your radio station or a Facebook or an Instagram or a TikTok have that network of people already. And what you're doing with any of these paid strategies, effectively paying to rent some of that audience, right? And giving you that massive reach straight away.
Absolutely. What I love about it is that targeting that you're talking about there. When you know who your people are and you know where they are, it helps you to be able to get to them very, very quickly. The other thing with paid ads is they are scalable. You're able to adjust your budget. You're able to adjust who sees your ads. You're able to adjust, the ideal client, where they're seeing them, where they, physically are. It's very easy to do that. Where organic, not so much. It's like just whoever kind of falls on your page, on your newsfeed, whatever it is. With paid, it's going right to where you want, and you're able to change that up really quickly.
Yeah, look, absolutely, Sam. And that's the thing. There's still considerations there, right? We've still got to make sure that our messaging is really on point. We've still got to speak to a pain point or a pleasure point that our customer really wants, or they're not going to sort of respond to it. One of the great things I love about paid advertising, particularly digital paid advertising compared to others, is that we can get really granular in understanding what our cost of acquisition is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is our cost per click? Right? So that's pay per click. You mentioned before, that's typically we sort of say Google. You're paying for the privilege of getting a click to go to some form of web page or landing site or something, website or landing page even, with the hope of then converting that traffic into an email address or a transaction, piece of e-commerce or something like that. We can get really, really granular in understanding what our margins are for customer acquisition. And this is an area that I find businesses don't really understand very well. And Sam, I know you would agree with this statement.
100%.
You do not know what your customer costs you to get, right? You do not know how much money you're making.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Know the top line, but you probably don't know how much effort. And this is the problem. I guess this is a problem, just to sort of go back to organic. Often we don't track what it costs us to get a customer. So we just go, I did some content, it's all good, and I signed a client this week and I made $1,000.
And it didn't cost me anything.
It didn't cost me anything, but you've literally spent 10 hours creating content for that week. I'm going, well, in that case, if you're $100 an hour and that's what you'd like to pay yourself, you actually made no money whatsoever. Right? And so organic can quite often get lost in not understanding what it costs us to do, whereas the paid side of stuff, we're really, really aware of what does it cost us to both get that click to whatever landing page we want to send people to, and then off the back of that, how much money we spend in converting those clients.
Totally. I want to talk about another con here, and you kind of touched on it, but didn't really get right into it. And that is one of the cons of paid marketing is if you're not entirely certain on who your ideal customer is, and you're unable to clearly articulate, their fears, their frustrations, their desires in a way that they understand, paid marketing, instead of being an investment, becomes a very high cost. Your messaging needs to be on point.
Yeah. Look, you're absolutely true. I was talking to someone recently. It was actually a referral for a deli in Melbourne, and ironically, when they moved from their small venue to a larger venue, they made more money, and they were like stagnating. And they're like, "Oh, what should I do now? Should I invest in paid ads?" And I've gone, well, that's up to you, right? You're either going to create, the only way to grow your business from new customer perspective is either to, create a market or take some of the market that is already there probably from other people. Right? The only way, there's a couple of ways to do that. But if we were doing paid marketing, we would look at, well, if I need to take some of the market that's already there, I need to get in front of them, and that's going to cost us some cash. I suggested these guys it might cost them somewhere between, say, $2,000 and $5,000 a month. And I go, it's too much. I'm going, well, is it too much at all? If you know it would absolutely be too much if A, the market wasn't there, and B, you'd put a message in front of them that didn't convert. You'd be blowing $5,000 a month in ad spend.
Yes.
But, we let go to Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's have a $14 billion advertising budget a year. Everyone knows who Coca-Cola is.
Absolutely.
Why? Probably because they've got a $14 billion budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've got to think about it in that context, right? They know exactly what it is that when they spend money, what happens at the till, about how much it costs them to sell that $1.50 can of Coke or $2 can of Coke or whatever can of Coke is worth these days. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Don't drink Coke. No idea.
probably depends on what
I'm
size
guessing
bottle
more
you
than what
buy
we
and how
spent in
many
the
you buy,
80s.
all that sort of stuff. But we've got to think, in our smaller scale businesses than Coca-Cola, we need to be thinking about the same way. If we don't, as I said, Sam, we don't know who our customer is, that money is just going to be thrown at the wall and not worked out. If we haven't got our funnel off the back of that, and by funnel we just mean what's your conversion process, right? That's dialed in. We're going to spend more money than we need to. But once we've got it, now the difference between putting $1,000 a month into an ad and $10,000 into an ad is literally just the zero. Doesn't actually require a huge amount more infrastructure to manage in order to scale it, 10x, 20x in terms of customer acquisition.
Totally. There needs to be some level of understanding and education around being able to run these marketing campaigns or paid marketing campaigns, because It's not as simple as I'm going to put up an ad and just let it do its thing. So I guess that is one of the cons. Either you need to spend some time learning that platform, or you need to hire someone who can manage it for you, someone that's got more expertise so that they can, optimize it or run it or keep their eyes on it or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I would, if you're doing that, I would just throw a word of caution in there. Hiring someone at $150, well, you get $150 worth of value, right? Hiring someone at $2,000 a month to do it, right? They're going to have better people doing it for you.
Something that I've learnt, and this could be just true for me, but I'm going to throw it out there. I have learnt that when I hire someone, I want to have some sort of understanding about it. Whenever I've hired someone with zero understanding of what's happening, that's when things have always gone not well, whether they've pulled the wool over my eyes or whether I haven't asked correctly for what it is I'm looking for, or because I haven't understood the context of what they're asking for, it hasn't been quite right. Personally, I like to have some sort of understanding, even if I'm going to hire someone, of what it is that I'm hiring for. That's just me. I don't know how that sits with you, Tim.
Yeah, I think so, Sam. That's absolutely true. And I guess we're always coming in from this when we're hiring kind of external skills in an area of expertise that we don't possess. We kind of almost, in some ways, have to sort of take someone's word for it.
Mm-hmm.
You said you're good at this. Okay. There wouldn't be a person listening to this podcast right now who hasn't been burned by a marketer somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in saying that, there's some really good ones out there.
There are some fantastic ones, right? The fantastic ones are not cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll throw that out there straight away, right? So the fantastic ones are not cheap. You've got to, I think you put yourself in context of, if you were an expert in your space, right? How much would you charge per hour to do this thing? And is it reasonable to assume that someone could do the same thing in the same amount of time?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're buying your SEO for $200 a month, right, that's literally getting you maybe 2 hours, including margin, of time on your account.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of time to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And give it any kind of personal attention. Now, if an hour of that time is meeting with you once a month, right? So, almost break it down like that and say, well, how much work are you actually doing, to grow my SEO or to, work on my ads or customize these or whatever that needs to be done.
Let's talk about how to choose what's the right strategy. So for anyone that's listening going, okay, well, I've heard the pros and cons of organic marketing. I've heard the pros and cons of paid marketing. How do I know what to do? I would probably start off from the messaging perspective. If you're not certain on your messaging, I wouldn't even consider paid marketing just yet. I think that using organic to get clarity on your messaging is really great. If you pay attention to the feedback that you're getting, is a really great
that's
place
the
to
caveat,
start.
right?
Yeah, you've got to pay attention to the feedback or even the questions that are coming back to you. Yeah, exactly. Actually take note of, are people confused or are you getting conversions? Because if you're not getting interest from an organic strategy, just turning on paid ads might mean that you're just going to get a whole lot more of nothing. Yeah. So I think that, right at the beginning, really pay attention to your organic. But I personally think that blending the two is the best strategy. It's something that I actually noticed, or when I say me and my business partner, right back in the day in the 90s, that if we did just paid on its own, it was okay. If we did just organic on its own, it was okay. But whenever we were rolling out a campaign, if we did both at the same time, it always grew it, not just by 2, but a lot more. It exponentially grew. And it's something that I've still noticed to this day, that the 2 strategies together work beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely dial it in. That's why I call it open. Also by accident, I call it open up the opportunities as opposed to just Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. There is a synergistic effect on each, but make sure, my advice would be to make sure that you dial one in first, not half-ass each.
Absolutely. So definitely have a think about where you're at on the scale. Are you really clear on your messaging? Are you at a point where you've run out of time to ramp up your organic? Is it time to switch some paid marketing on? But just, take some time out and evaluate where you are right now, and where are your current opportunities so that you can ramp up your either organic or paid or both so that you can get more viewers, audience, subscribers, clients. Anything you want to add, Tim?
I mean, do it. Just do
it. Just be like Nike and do it. Love it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here again for another week. It's been great to have you back in the host seat with me. And thank you for listening.
Just to take your own advice here, Sam, I'm just literally going to snap a quick photo and just so that I can Instagram this. back in the hot seat. There we go, Sam. And spin that around. There we go. There we go. That's a little bit, but we'll shortly.
Excellent.
Take your own advice.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here today, Tim. And thank you for listening. If you've got we would love to hear where you're at, what you've got from this episode. And we would also love you to share it with other people in your world to help them decide where they're at so that they can grow their business. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next week on another episode of Influence by Design.